start with this pledge allegiance, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there stuff I'm supposed to have?
Not that.
Not that stuff. Well, there's a
Over
couple,
here, Liz.
but here's your agenda up here.
No, over here,
Over
that's the
here.
documents, over here.
This is board stuff.
That's the board's table.
Just help yourself, you know?
For like ever.
The first thing on our agenda is we have a guest of the board, Sue Peters from Cooper Neiman, certified public accountants, and they do our audit. And Sue, it's up to you. You have a presentation to make.
Looks like there's something wrong with your copy. I don't know what happened there. Okay.
Oh, is this something somebody forgot to?
Here, I'll take that.
Sorry
Go
about
ahead, go ahead.
that. I'm Sue Peters. I was one of the auditors, but we came here to do the audit. I just want to explain to you that there's several parts to your audit. There's the financials, that's the numbers. The assessment of internal controls, that's where we come in and we talk to everyone, we interview everyone, and then we do tests to test what they tell us to make sure that is true. And then we assess your internal controls. By interviewing and from past experience, we assess the risk, how much we have to test. And then we look at the compliance with the laws and regulations, so that's, we look at your bidding, we look at your policies. Then if additional work for federal expenditures, if you spend over $500,000, then we have to do a single audit. But that wasn't needed this year, so we didn't have to do that. And then we give you the opinion on the fair presentation of your financial statement. We look to see and make sure that the outside users, the financial statement is the outside user, that it looks fair to them. On the next page, your general fund balance has increased $128,000. That's about 20% of the budgeted expenditures for 2012. So you outperformed the budget by $128,000. The outperformance is due because the revenues were greater than what had been anticipated, and the expenditures were actually less than what were anticipated or budgeted. The revenues, they were about $62,000, or 9% higher than the prior year, and expenditures were also up 32%, which is 6%. But all in all, you did increase fund balance. The highway fund, you also increased the fund balance about $91,000. That's about 7% of your budgeted expenditures. And again, you outperformed the budget by $91,000. So, and that was mainly due to expenditures being less than in the previous year. The revenues were up about $30,000 from the prior year, and expenditures were down about $143,000. That's because you bought trucks in the year before. Ideally, you want to have more fund balance in the highway because you never know what's going to happen. Fuel prices, storms, flooding, or repairs of equipment, you never know. So you want to have a little bit of cushion, especially in the highway fund. And it's hard to keep it stable, but you've been doing pretty good. We'll see that in the chart later on. The sewer fund, that increased $88,000, which is good because your fund balance was getting low in previous years. That's about 26% of your expenditures. And the revenues, they were up about $9,000 from the prior year, which is about 3%. And the expenditures were down $90,000. And that's because you had the emergency generator the year before, and there was a lot of repairs because of the flooding the year before. The year before, the 50% of the fund balance was just used on the generator. So, there's no statutory limit on how much can be kept in the fund balance. It should be reasonable. So that's what the board has to decide, what you feel is reasonable. The next page is your unassigned, unappropriated fund balance. That's what we used to call unreserved. And that is what you can spend. It's not reserved for a special project. You can use it whatever the town needs it to be used for. And that's up about 128 from the year before, 128,000. That's about 101% of your budgeted expenditures. And the year before, the leftover fund balance, what was left over at the end of the year, that was about 76% of the next year's budget. And in 2010, it was about 69% of the 2011 budget. you may wanna consider in the future doing reserves. I know you're thinking about doing some projects, so you may wanna leave that so you can spend it. But, like I said, that's unrestricted, and what you feel is reasonable and what the board wants to do. The highway fund, it's about $203,000, and that's, like I said, 91,000 from the year before, and that's about 16% of the 2003 budgeted expenditures. And in the year before, it was about 10% of the 2012 budget, and in 2010, it was about 12% of the 2011 budget. So that's been pretty consistent. Like I said, you wanna have a little cushion in the highway. The next is the sewer fund. Like I said, it's 108,000 now, which is up 88,000, and it's about 31% of the 2013 budgeted expenditures. And it's 6% of the ensuing budget of the prior year, and about 9% in 2010, which would be the 2011 budget. It's a small fund, so you have to be careful. You don't wanna let it get too low, which, you know, you are getting close. So it's good that you are, but you don't wanna make big jumps either. You don't wanna raise the taxes too much or the fees too much, because you don't want the taxpayers to have to do it all in 1 year. Just keep an eye on that, because you know, you could have flooding or repairs again. If you look at the chart on the next page, that's the general fund, and you can see your budget has been pretty stable through from 2008 to 2012, which is good. And your fund balance, that where it dropped down, that was when you built the town hall. So you have been able to build it back up, so you do have money for projects that you will need to do. But it's good that it's level. We don't like to see where it's going up and down, so you have been increasing it gradually, which is good. And like I said, it's up to you to decide how much you need to have in there. On the next page is the highway, and again, both the, fund balance and the budget have been consistent. So you've been doing a good job, because a lot of the towns have them going up and down because of flooding, and even with the flooding, you've been able to keep it pretty consistent. So that's good. But you may wanna have more of a cushion there. But again, you don't wanna raise taxes too much in 1 year. You wanna do it gradually. The next page, like I said, the highway, good fund, the building up the fund balance. Fund balance, you know, that definitely needs to have more of a cushion than other funds. Monitor the fund balance just so that it doesn't get too low. The general fund balances, it was steadily, you know, it's been pretty steady over the last few years, and just make sure what you feel is comfortable to be in there. Consider funding, you know, reserves, through the budgeting process. We have a lot of towns that do that. And the sewer fund, the same, just, it's been increasing, you know, just during the last current year, but, just watch your budget on that also. Just monitor that closely. We gave you a management letter, it's in with the report, which has other comments. We had some verbal issues that weren't significant in the business office we spoke about. The SAS 114 letter, that's also in the report. That's where we communicate to you to tell you the important notes, what you should be looking at in the financial statement, because it's a lot of pages, and that's where we tell you what's important. So that, of all letters, that's what you should read, is the letter in there. It tells you our responsibilities and what we think is really important. Any problems if we encountered, which we did not this year, and it highlights important note disclosures. Next page. The financial statements have changed a little this year. If you look at them, we are able to, with our opinion, we actually give 2 opinions, and one is on the government-wide financial statements, and then on the fund, which is the fund is the ones that you're more familiar, that we've done for years, but then we had to add the fixed assets and things you're supposed to. So because you don't add the fixed assets and you don't add the post-employment health insurance liability, we give you a qualified opinion on the governmental activities. because the full accrual, because you haven't done that, but most of the towns that we do don't do that, that's very common. But it's an unmodified, which is the best opinion we can give on the fund financial statements. They're the ones in the back, where the general fund and the highway and the sewer. Which is good, because now it shows that your numbers are fine, just that you haven't met the new gap that we're supposed to report on. There's other issues. There's new GASB pronouncements that are gonna be implemented in 2012. They really had no effect on your numbers. It was mostly with the wording that we had to do. And next year, GASB 65 is going to be implemented for 2013, and that may affect the financial statement reporting, but we're still in the process of learning how it's going to affect them. We're going to seminars on that. They haven't quite decided how it's gonna affect the town, so we'll go over that through the year. We'll keep you posted on that. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this GASB 65 refers to,
That is, Government Auditing Standards Board.
okay.
Yeah, so we will be, that's,
It won't require us to change our.
no, and we'll, like I said, they're still going over to trying to figure out how it's gonna affect the local towns and even the schools. They haven't figured that out yet. They're still working on it. So to be announced. So it's gradually we'll figure out what's gonna happen with that. But yeah, they haven't come to any conclusions, especially for, New York State, how they're gonna report it. So we'll be waiting for that. But we'll let you know if you need to do any other changes throughout the year.
Anybody else have any questions? This is what we call a clean audit.
Right. We didn't find any.
Accountants don't say it the same way I do.
Right, it's, the legal, the legal way we have to say it. Right, no, we didn't find any problems. It went smoothly. It was a pleasure to work here. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to call us. We're in the office. We'll get back to you if we're not. We'll be out auditing again soon.
Yeah, you always have any questions we've ever had. You've always
Right.
been right there. Thank you.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Sue. All right. Can we get somebody to accept the minutes? Cindy moves the second, and second by John. All in favor? Aye. Tess, you're up, town clerk.
Okay, March receipts total $1,822.40, with $1806.40 turned over to the supervisor. Of that, $1,515.40 is building fees. Taxes collected through March 31st, total $4,026,647.67. I turned back $678,000 uncollected, so I collected about 85.5% of the warrant, which was up last year. Last year I only collected 78% during the same time period, so people were paying a little more timely. Every year I get more requests from people to pay by credit cards. And the Tax Collectors Association had a presentation with a company last week who I'm interested in going with. There's no cost to the town, or no cost to any of the municipalities, but there's a 3% convenience fee for whoever wants to use their credit card. It's internet-based, so people can pay off of taxlookup.net. They can also come in, because I'll have a little card swiper thing, and I can also collect building fees if somebody wants to pay Howard by credit card or whatever, we can do that. Bethel's tax collector did it this year. She's very happy, and Rita Sheehan just started doing it in the clerk's office. So it's working okay for them. There is a 3-year agreement that we have to enter into, but it does clearly state on it that there are no fees billed to the town. So I'm requesting permission to enter into an agreement and accept credit cards. People to further.
Well, it's 3% to the person paying it.
Right.
It's not
Nothing for us.
like a merchant charge. I think it's a pretty good idea. It'll probably help her collect even more,
Well, certainly people who expect money coming in during the month, they don't have it now, they could use their credit
Mm-hmm.
card.
Well, and on the 31st of March, they can pay up till 11:59 PM if they want to, if they want to pay their, they don't have to come into the office or
Oh,
whatever.
they don't have to come into the office, not like you're swiping their card then.
Well,
They can.
They can.
We can
and
do
I-
it
I
that
would
way,
ass-
or they
I'll
can
bet you
do
that's
it
how most
online.
of that will happen, but I don't know
Okay.
that.
Either way. But I do, every year I get more requests, and so I arranged to have this company come down and meet with the collectors, and I think almost all the towns are going.
Are you comfortable with it?
Yes, we had a good demonstration, good presentation, so.
I think it's a good idea.
Give it a try.
I got nothing against it.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, John will move it. Second? Cindy seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. The last thing I have is, it's litter pluck time again, and the roads are full of garbage. So I have bags, if anyone wants to come up and grab a bag or two or 5. The litter pluck is scheduled for Saturday the 27th. Is that Saturday? Yes. Next Saturday, and they will collect the garbage at the landfill for free as long as you use the clear bags until May 4th, I think. So there's a window of time. And I encourage anybody to get out there for an hour and just pick up some garbage. That's my report.
Okay, and you're gonna leave them out front like you did last year?
Yes, I'll leave everything out front.
Okay. Okay, Bill, you're up.
Okay. Would like to roll over the stone bid for another year, because it's a 3-year contract. I'd just like to let the board know we're gonna roll it over. Also, in the past, I'm gonna say 3 or 4 years, the Sullivan County Association of Town Highway Superintendents has been going to Albany in March for Advocacy Day. I gotta get that word out, advocacy. And what we do is we try to go up there and get money from the state to help offset the cost of paving roads and fixing roads. This year, we received $30,027 more in our CHIPS money. So it's been well worth the time to go up, and I would like to thank personally Senator Bonasek, because he really helped every town out that he could. And speaking of garbage, the highway department picks up garbage usually every day of the week. Our dumpster, we always filling it up, but people have just gotta learn to stop being slobs, you know what I mean? There's no need for this, really. So, if there's any questions, I'd gladly answer them.
You guys seem to keep it very well cleaned up though, but there
We
are some
try.
places
Well-
that are absolutely incredible.
It's unbelievable, and I mean, we're talking tires, we're talking just garbage that,
Yeah, bags and bags of
There's no
garbage, the
need for
animals
this.
rip
I mean,
them
if you got-
apart at night.
if you have any pride, and I'm sure people don't usually live like this, I mean, what does it take to put it in a garbage can, or,
Leave it in your car till you get home.
Exactly.
I resent having to spend a Saturday cleaning up somebody else's garbage, and I do it every year.
you can make the place, you can make this town look like a park if you just take the minute to help everybody out by picking it up or putting it where it belongs, really.
Where are the worst spots that you've
All
noticed?
over, there
Out on
used to be bad.
17B by that place.
But I mean, like
Did you see
even on the
that?
town roads, even in our own little town roads, you know, there's no need for this stuff, there's not. I don't do
You
it,
just
I don't
drive
believe in
around.
throwing things out the window.
Yeah.
And it's easier, my dad always says it's easier to bend over and pick a piece of paper up than it is to keep walking over it. 'Cause you just, you know you should pick it up, so why the hell you keep walking over it, you know? And that's the way you gotta look at it, bend over and pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, people can adopt the road, and that's probably a great idea. I have to have a motion to roll the stone bid over.
I'll move.
Second.
All those in
Thank you.
favor?
Aye.
That's all I have, unless someone has a question.
Howard?
Well, building activity is starting to pick up. I got a permit for a house the other day, and I know another one probably in a couple of weeks I'll get the plans in. So there's starting to be some activity, which is good for everyone. And other than that, there's no problems. So,
I guess it's the time of year.
yes.
How many did we have last year, Howard?
At homes,
Yeah.
we had 5 new homes last year. You're welcome.
Okay, Virginia, the assessor's
Okay.
report?
Renee is busily working on getting the tentative roll completed this week for processing by Next Links, which is a company down in Middletown that does our tax roll for us. This year, our grievance day has been moved to the fourth Thursday of May, which is the 30th, so if anybody intends to grieve their assessments, that's the time to do it. And I just wanted to bring something else up. I don't know if many of you have received a letter from the county regarding the ag district inclusion. Are any of you confused by it and don't know what to do with it?
Good. I did,
You did manage to figure it out,
Yeah.
okay? Because I was
I
going to
mean,
say,
I
if
know
anybody
I
has
did.
questions, you can either ask me tonight or in the office tomorrow. And in case you inadvertently threw your paperwork out, I do have blanks here. But all of town of Delaware is in the ag district, just so that everyone is aware. And if you receive the form, it's because you are in the ag district. And what they're trying to do is to define how much of the farmland that has historically been farmland has now been converted to residential properties. That's the long-term goal for it. And if you recently read a piece in the Times Herald Record, they had an article about from 2002 to 2007, Sullivan County lost more than a fifth of its properties to their ag properties to development. That has slowed considerably. And as Howard has said, we don't have a lot of building going on, but this is what they look at, and this is where it affects funding for agricultural endeavors. So I would encourage everybody to kind of indicate that maybe you are a residential parcel, but you'd like to remain in the ag district.
Does everybody get that form?
If you're in the ag district, yes.
Came in the mail.
Yeah.
yeah,
So-
About a week ago, I did, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
every 8 years.
yes.
Would there be any possible advantage to checking that you want to be out of the ag zone? I can't imagine.
Advantage, it just indicates to them that you're gonna pull out of it, that's all. So,
Okay, you have the form? I don't know.
Steve, there's a lot of questions on the form that, how much income do you derive from farming and
Yeah.
what kind of farming, and I mean, it's fairly.
Right, but that's not relevant if you're a
Yeah, right,
resident, you know.
A lot of people confuse the ag district with ag assessments.
Yes.
And I run into that a lot, trying to explain the difference to people.
Mhm.
And, some people think if they're in the ag district, they're tied into a program, which is not true, It doesn't cost them anything, and they get out anytime they want, if they want.
And the other thing is, a lot of people don't seem to realize that the town doesn't set an ag district. That's set by the county. We actually have no say in what's in or out of an ag district.
Okay, you done with that, then you finished?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the grants coordinator. Kara is not here. She came in to see me today, and the only thing she wanted to report was that the Town Business Association did win a $5,000 Renaissance grant. So I'll make that announcement. Mike Shinicki, are you here? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here.
you're up.
Yeah, the Callicoon Creek Park. Well, we met with the Delaware Valley Job Corps, and by the way, we as a committee, we sent a letter off in their support to all the our politicians over and then also some of us are sending individual ones also because they're so helpful, so nice. Met with Allison Hoskins, who's a kind of like a work coordinator, community contact person, and the carpenter and stuff. And we went over some things with them. The stage that we bought last year, as the committee did, they're going to refurbish it. We also have some lights that they're going to build some frame for, and they said that they would help repair the fences, and that's something I want to bring up with the board, is that, I don't know, are there any funds like in the unassigned reserves to
Where are you grinning
that we
already.
heard about this, yeah,
You mean the horse fence?
the horse fence around, they said that they will do all the work, but, you know, we would want, to purchase it. They said they would take an inventory of what can be reused and what is broken and needs to be replaced. And I don't know if there's something that we could get help through the town.
Let's start with how much, you know, get the inventory.
Yeah, okay, and I'm sure it's not gonna be any, you know, great amount, but
We'll see.
we did go over it, so once
We
I,
see if we can get it by the committee over here.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
My question would be, what do we need a fence for in the first place?
Well, it does separate the,
The
you know,
parking,
the street parking from the.
yeah,
Well, you got,
wooden fence.
Yeah, that horse fence, but it's already there, it's just,
yeah,
he's saying it needs to be, the horse fence does
There's
go
a
there.
lot.
after a while.
well,
I mean, it's just something that's gotta be mowed around, it's kind of a pain unless you're trying to keep animals in or out.
Well, sometimes it helps us keep.
Well, it does create a barrier, like for the vendors, you go down to the farmer's market? Yeah, well, this create a barrier for the farmer's market and the parked cars and stuff. And it also delineates walkways, where to get in and out, so.
Well, it helps us on concert nights, it's better, we're able to manage the flow of, and make more
events and
money.
stuff, so, and it's there, and so I don't know, we might as well maintain it, and so that'll be your decision to make, if you can help out.
So Mike, are you gonna get me that,
Yeah, I'll get you that, they
the
said that,
data and an estimate?
and an estimate,
You just go to
exactly.
Agway, I suppose, and check
Will
it?
do, okay. And then, so, and then also we sent the letters, and then the insurance you were going to look into again, I don't know, I mean, we can still stay with, you know, the CBA and a rider on their insurance, and it's about
Well,
$400, so I wonder if we could
First of all,
split it.
you know, I know, this is a question that comes up, I know that David answered the question, I guess, communicated with David at the price agency. You know, the town owns the property, but anybody that uses the property, and a good example is the farmer's market, gives the town a certificate of insurance. And that's true of, I mean, I own a building and I rent space and I require the tenants to give me a certificate of insurance. And the reason is that we shouldn't be accepting someone else's liability. You know, we as a town, we don't know, we don't set the dates, we don't do anything regarding your, whatever activities you're having down there, i.e. concerts. And, I mean, to veer away from that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, from a management perspective. I didn't speak to John about it, but I spoke to 3 of our councilmen, and they kind of all agree with that consideration. Now, you know, if the town, if the board wants to, I mean, they can help you pay for it. I mean, the town does participate, though. I mean, here we're talking about the fence, where the town pays the electric bill, the town has it mowed, the town pays for the garbage, so it's not like the town isn't doing anything.
Absolutely not.
So, I mean, it's just, I think it's something that you guys have to decide. But I would rather, I think it would be a better management practice, if you wanna give them a couple bucks to help pay for the insurance, that makes more sense to me than just adding it to our insurance.
No.
It's not good,
No,
it's
I don't
not a
think-
good management practice, it just isn't.
If anything comes out of it, it should be just in the sequence you're talking about. If we can afford to give something, and we feel that that would be a good thing to do it that way, rather than them coming in under our policy. That sets a whole different
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
situation.
but that's totally understandable, I totally agree with you, you know, obviously you've thought it through, and, I appreciate the fact, and it's around $400, so maybe I'll request the town to maybe, to split it with them to have $200.
When does that happen? When do you pay for that?
Well, we'll probably do we're having a meeting tomorrow, so, you know, we'll find out, you know.
Okay, why don't you let me know,
do.
then.
Yeah, the
Okay,
policy's up the 6th of May, actually.
the 6th of May?
Oh,
it
no, I'm
is?
sorry, that's farmer's market, that's not you guys.
Okay, yeah,
It's up in July.
My comment would be,
it's in July.
are we gonna contribute to every organization that wants to use the park? I think it gets a little bit out of hand then.
Oh, I don't think
Well,
so. I
we're
mean,
not,
manage
we manage it, we're not an organization using a park, we're a group of volunteers spending countless hours of trying
Jesus.
to make a nice community thing, I guess community.
I got no argument
Yeah.
with you, Mike, but if there's another organization that wants to have a function down there or something, you know, we
Well,
can't just
no,
be
if
funding
it's a-
insurance for
we have
everybody.
other people who have functions down there also carry their own insurance. Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're not on the reports of the Calico, you know, as being a committee, a part of the committee. You guys designated them, you know, the Calico Creek part as a committee, and you know, they're not. This is something that we do for the town, so we're just asking, yeah, and we agree, we really appreciate all the support you give, and we're just asking for some more, and it's your consideration, and, you know, obviously we'll
Well, if
pay.
you would, how fast can you get me that stuff on a fence?
Well, probably, well, I'll call the Delaware Valley and see if they've had a chance to do an
How
assessment,
many have to be replaced?
and they were,
And when you get that information
absolutely.
now, by that time, you'll probably have an idea what the cost is.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll talk
do,
about
okay, great, I appreciate it, thank you. And then also, the plant swap is coming up, and, you know, and we're working on that, and also there was something, we wanted to get donations to the park and have them tax deductible, so, Liz, you were talking about a PayPal account?
Yeah,
What does that entail?
I just also want to add to what Michael was saying is, maybe there was some confusion. Is when the farmer's market comes, whatever proceeds they get go however they divvy them up, but that benefits the farmer's market. That's why it's an entity separate, that's why their insurance, you know, is understandably, reasonably separate. Anything that we garner from the plant swap, last year it was like, I don't know, $400, or I forget what it was, but anything we garner from the concerts or that we garner from the plant swaps or any other activities, all goes back into the park. I mean, we're not taking that money and it all benefits the park. I didn't know if that was clear. But as far as PayPal, one of the things, I've been working on the Facebook page and I built a website and, well, I've been keeping up the website. And one of the things, like if you look at Sullivan County Habitat for Humanity, I did that website, and on that page is a wonderful outlay of all kinds of different ways that people can donate to Sullivan County Habitat for Humanity. Most of them, however, require like PayPal or something like that. So I'm not quite sure how the park looks in the budget, if it's a separate line item or whatever, but I'd really like us to put our heads together and think of ways that we could use PayPal at both the website, I think I can integrate it with Facebook, but so that we can get donations to the park, and they would be tax deductible, I would presume. The problem is we're not a 501c3. We are an arm, a branch of a governmental entity, so is that possible? I mean, is there some way to
I mean,
do that?
you can file for tax deductible status, but, I mean, in the absence of that filing, you can't tell anybody that it's tax deductible, because it's not.
Yeah, we realize that.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing would be to do would to get to an accountant or an attorney and try to determine what you have to do to get tax deductible
Well,
status.
people have done that. The problem seems to be that because it is in essence owned by a governmental entity, it is a governmental entity. So it can't really, I mean, I don't see
Well,
how it could be a not-for-profit. I mean, that's kind of like how I think if we could sit down with people, somehow or other figure out a way that people can donate to the park. I mean, right now, we've got like the leaves on the trees and all that kind of stuff where people buy a leaf and they become a benefactor of the park and all that money goes plowed back into the park. But it would really be terrific if we could, you know, be self-sustaining, and we could do that, I think, we've got, in the last 3 months, I've increased the Facebook likes, you know, our members are up to 124. So with families and everything else, you know, and the more we promote it, the more people come. This year, for the first time, we had people coming to us. I think we had 3 bands who came to us because they want to play in that venue. They like that park. So if we could figure out a way somehow or other to up those donations, we wouldn't be in here all the time asking for insurance payments. Or maybe we would, but we would still, we could figure it out, it'd be great. Does anybody think that there's any way, I mean, it is a governmental entity, yeah?
No, I mean, the park committee is not a government entity.
No, but
The
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 park
property is
itself.
owns the property.
Right.
I mean, it's,
So we're not like because we're a named committee, we're not a part of the town? See, I just don't know
well,
what
you're
the-
not
I don't
really a
know how it
main
works.
committee. I don't even know who's on it, other than I know, well, now I know you're on it. And I know that, I mean, there's a whole bunch of folks down there that try to beautify it and, but I mean, I don't think it's a named, quote, named committee by any even stretch of the imagination. But what you're really saying is you want to formalize. Isn't that what you're saying? And, you know, you really should talk, yeah, you have to form an organization, and you really should talk to an attorney.
Well, we have like rules of operation and all that kind of stuff.
Am I out
Yeah,
left
we
field?
have, but we're not,
They'd have to
we
form a
never really
not-for-profit
pursued
corporation,
it.
they'd have to apply and obtain 501c3 status.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of formalizing, you know, nobody wants to spend the money to do it, I guess, but I mean, that's really what you have to do.
How much was it, Jenny?
I don't remember.
It was, yeah, too
Give
expensive.
me your card, Ken.
Little side job.
Okay, well, I think we have to think about that and maybe propose something more substantive and more concrete instead of.
We need to understand the relationship first.
Well, we just found out the relationship now is that it's just a,
So, I mean, I mean, you really, that's what really what you're saying is you should formalize in order to, you know, and if you wanna get 501 status, you need to, you know, form, you know,
well, yeah,
do it in that.
you have to go through the whole process. Yeah. We looked at that, way back then. The process was very expensive, very long, so we had
Well,
not the money.
that's why everybody's always looking for an organization like, I don't even know, who, I shouldn't open this can of worms, but who sponsors the tractor parade?
Yes.
And they're separate.
Okay, so, and they are, okay, and there's an organization, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you need, you know, you need that kind of,
See,
formal.
my confusion is because the park is owned by the town. But I really, I don't get the relationship.
Well,
If
there's
the
an
park is-
example, that there's a
and then-
parade on a county and town road. I mean, that doesn't mean that the town sponsors it.
No, I get the
And-
difference
and-
between an activity and an ownership of a property.
Okay.
But then, within that context, my understanding was that the park is owned by the town, and then the park committee manages it on behalf of the town. So I guess my question is, I don't understand, I'm not even fully convinced that we would qualify for 501c3 if we're not sure what our legal relationship with the town is, because they might say we're too tied to government because we manage, I don't know, I don't know.
I doubt that's not the problem.
If you had a
The
formal,
problem-
if you had a formal entity, you could enter into a formal agreement
Yeah,
with the
right, a
town.
management agreement with the town, and then that's what you're doing.
See, that's
What you are is you're an informal group of volunteers who are.
That's right.
who are-
It's
who are
basically
interested
a volunteer
maintaining
group.
something
It's
that
been a
you benefit
volunteer
from.
group ever since, in the beginning, you know.
Yeah.
And if you want to get into that kind of situation with PayPal, then you have to do something to make that appropriate to
Can I
use.
just ask a question? I think what you're leading up to is you're asking, is the town capable of making collections on behalf of the park via the town
I love
through
you, yes.
PayPal? And I don't think that's legal.
But would it be possible if
Okay.
we formalized a relationship with you guys?
To do what?
You mean,
No, that the town's not gonna do your bookkeeping.
No.
If you wanna formalize an entity to be a charitable entity and raise revenue and funds for the greater good, and that's a very good thing, but the town can't bookkeep that for you.
What?
let me throw this out, and I may be way out of whack here. What if we leased or sold the park to the committee?
Well, first of all, that would be an expense that they would,
Yeah,
I mean, once they own it, it would be much more expensive to them than what.
Yeah.
We started
I mean, we
last
pay the
season
electric,
with
we
12
do
bucks
vac mow it,
check mark.
we do other things, but I think for them to lease it or own it, and then go out and market and get the insurance, it's gonna be a
You know.
We
different
grow so
story.
fast.
Yeah, okay, well, just get to that. Let's,
No, but thanks for
Yeah.
your time, because we've been like trying madly to figure out
I mean,
ways
just a
to.
wild thought.
yeah.
Okay,
One day
UDC,
Produce something.
Harold, did you,
Yeah, I have some stuff. First thing that I wanted to tell is that the Upper Delaware council has their 25th annual awards ceremony on 28th of April.
of April?
And it'll be at the Lackawaxen House in Pennsylvania this year. And if you would like to come, you have to get your money into them by the 19th. That's Friday. I think it's Friday, yeah?
Yep.
I don't know if you need one of these.
I did it at my.
You did, so
Matter
anybody-
of fact, I sent it
I'll
to
leave it
them
out in
now.
case anybody wants that.
I got
You use PayPal?
a telephone call.
Okay, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on the water because it's pretty close to the median that has been experienced over the long term. So there's not a lot of big change in the water. However, precipitation is low in the whole base, the whole thing. It's been very low. The DRBC just come up with some interesting statistics, and they have one of these little maps with all red dots to show you how dry it is down through that whole thing. In other words, relationship over a long-term meeting of precipitation, not what's in the reservoir. So that is low. The highlight of our last UDC meeting brought the council to a unanimous decision and a unanimous agreement, the likes of which I haven't seen since we had that electric wire wanting to come down through the railroad in Calicoon. There's been, people have been loggerheads, and a lot of it has to do with gas drilling and other things, environmental things, and things that weren't environmental, and land, this back and forth between land use, landowners, and the environment, and so forth. But this was unanimous. Everybody agreed. And it's just amazing what is starting to happen, and I'm very fearful if there's something like this goes through in Pennsylvania, it won't be long that it will happen here. And what it amounts to is, if you people who live along this creek here, or anybody along the river, if your septic system fails according to these regulations, and you don't have the room to do what the new regulations say you shall, bye-bye house. You're out. This was one of the most disturbing things I've heard ever. The meeting started off just like this meeting did, with a guest of the board, and the guest of the board was the head of the commissioners from Wayne County. This has to do now with Pennsylvania, and I'm telling you this because it's part of the UDC. This isn't affecting New York at this point. The DEP, which is like our DEC, is the Department of Environmental Protection in Pennsylvania, has made some things that they want to incorporate. And they did it in a matter of saying that they're proposing new policies, not regulations. And the reason they did it is because the legislature in Pennsylvania then can not vote yea or nay, or has no say in it. It was, there will be public comment. Now, just think about the drilling thing that we have here. There was public comment, but no hearings. They don't want hearings. You could only write to them. Then they only put it in a little email and sent it out to the municipalities and said, you have, the decision will be made in 30 days. Well, somebody happened to read an email, and it went like wildfire in the spring.
And now they stretched it to 30 days, and the date is May 1st they have to report on it. Naturally, the people came to the UDC from, this is both Pike County and Wayne County. Let me explain what it's all about. They are trying to control subdivision and land development ordinances and impose these, which will essentially do away with those regulations of their towns and of the county, anything that the county has in their townships. It will expand the control of septic and mound systems. They use a lot of mound systems in Pennsylvania, to the point where somebody like yourself is trying to sell a piece of land over there. When the people find out what it's going to cost them to meet these new regulations to put in either a septic system or a mound system, you're talking probably $50,000 to $100,000 just to meet their requirements. And they're wild. They're trying to control what they call nitrates going into the water. However, if you look at the statistics in Wayne County and in Pike County, there are none. They don't have any. They have, it's that way because the people take care of the situation. And the present DEP made sure that they were doing it right. This is about not allowing development. And one of the things you're going to have to do is, if you put in the septic system, you're going to have to dig a ditch. It could be, and you have to have it approved by the DEP, planned by an engineer, and you have to have it implemented or executed by a person who is according to their rules and know, okay, they can do this. You have to be able to dig around the perimeter of this 30 feet, up to 30 feet down. Fill it with sawdust, then backfill it. And if anything happens to that over a period of years, you're responsible for maintaining it. You have to dig it up and do it all over again.
But now it's hazardous waste.
Yeah, now it's hazardous waste. Now the next thing is, if you live on a 1 acre lot and the setbacks, if you have a ditch, a dry ditch, and twice a year you have water in it, could be from a heavy rain and it's gone, that's a moving stream according to their criteria. So therefore,
Who is they?
DEP.
Oh.
This is all done by the Department of Environmental Protection in Pennsylvania.
Which we have in New York State too.
Yeah, well, it's a different thing here. This is so,
It's the same.
if you can't fix your system to comply with the new regulations and you're not set back far enough and you have no land or no place to put it, you can't have a septic system. I'm not kidding you. Everybody was absolutely aghast at this. It didn't matter whether you were pro-drillers or against drillers or Democrats or Republicans or this or that. It didn't matter. It was unanimous. I've never seen anything like this at the UDC in I've been on it since 97. So the people are very, very upset. And here's some of the things that they brought out. It will subordinate, the local communities and municipalities will be subordinating everything in their zoning ordinances to the DEP. This has to do with setbacks, with zoning districts. Over time, it would prevent a municipality from achieving its long-term goals for growth patterns. This nitrate abatement regulation will overwhelm municipalities with preparing and maintaining costly, complex plans for the implementation of its new standards and methods. The potential use of conforming lots created in accordance with local law will be put in a state of uncertainty until an actual development plan is initiated. The landowner cost to satisfy the new regulations may render the use of the land parcel uneconomical. As a result of this nitrate abatement regulation is NAR, so I'll use that term. As a result of NAR, higher development costs will lower land values. It will, the need for larger lot size will lower the land values. As a result of it, existing lots would become unbuildable with limited value. Lower land values will collapse the tax base and fund the county, the towns, townships, and the school districts. NAR is an irrefutable infringement on private property rights.
And this was so interesting because some people in New York had already bought property and or owned property in Pennsylvania along a river, and they're going to retire and build a house there. But now they don't know if they can.
But where did the nitrates come from?
Well, the nitrates, there two things they're trying to do. They want what they want to do is they don't want development, and number two, they don't want farm. They want to get rid of farms. That's it. Where's the nitrates come from?
Fertilizer.
Fertilizer.
Well,
Farms.
Chesapeake Bay's away.
Yeah. Does the Pennsylvania DEP nitrate abatement regulation have any scientific merit? Are these regulations overkill? If the surface water is currently high quality, which it is, and exceptional value, which it is, does NRA unjustifiably penalize landowners in these areas? Has the septic system design standard currently employed in areas of high quality and the other one, water quality, cause measurable water quality degradation sufficient to warrant these new proposals? The need to implement is contradicted by the comprehensive 2010 study by the USGS entitled Water Quality in the Upper Delaware Scenic and Recreational River and Tributary Streams, New York and Pennsylvania, which concluded no correlation between the percentage of suburbanization and water quality was detected. Well, you can imagine everybody's in a fit. Everybody's, their land and their land use is in jeopardy. So the UDC unanimously decided that they, only thing they can do is write a letter. There'll be no hearing. You just can write a letter. So the letter was formed. If anybody wants to see, this is a draft. It is not finished. We'll have our committee meeting Thursday night, not this Thursday, Tuesday, next Tuesday night. And it will go out from the committee. Everybody's in unanimous agreement that this is crazy. And the only thing is, how do you put it in words and send it out to them? So that's what we'll be working on. But there's a draft here. I'm going to give it to the board members so they can look over. I've never seen anything like this in my life. But there it is. The one that really got me was the one that said that if you have an existing home and it fails and you try to fix it and you don't meet their regulations, you can't meet it. You can't do it, period. That's why I think everybody was really upset. Not very fun. So that's my report. I don't know what else to say. That was a scary thing.
Harold? Is the UDC getting involved in, like I read in the paper, and commenting on developments that are outside of the river corridor?
I don't think they're doing it on developments, no. But they do have, there is a concern about if something happens outside, if something goes on outside and it affects the corridor or the river, then the UDC has something to say. We have no police powers, we can only say something, that's all. But I don't think they're looking around to see what's happening out there outside of the core in a big way. They're only looking at something that could adversely affect it. But they can't stop it.
And how did they feel this compressor station affected them?
Well, what happened there was that the Park Service was very concerned about them. Okay, so they sent a letter, the Park Service sent a letter out on that one. And the UDC tried to put one together, but it was toned way down. They went way off. Basically, they're saying that, okay, you're doing something out here. We just want you to know that we're here, and we don't want to have anything that out there that's going to adversely affect the corridor or the river. That's a simple thing to state, and I don't see anything wrong in that at all. But when you start talking about things that we don't have any control over, and it's DEC's job outside there, then they shouldn't be
Well, the
commenting.
compressor station's almost a mile from the...
Yeah, it is. It's almost a mile outside the boundary. The biggest, maybe I shouldn't say this. The Park Service was very upset that FERC didn't recognize that they existed. Okay, And in a way, they should have. They really should have, because they're very close to a scenic and recreation area. They should have done a little bit more. Say, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna make sure it's okay. However, these things have been going on. How long has that compressor station been going? For a year, 2 years? Right? All they had to do from the Park Service was, hi, we're here, we'd just like to let you know we're here. So it works both ways. Works both ways. But this thing, oh man, if that takes hold there, you're going to see this thing start spreading. And believe me, you better hang on to your land, or hope you can hang on, especially anybody that lives within 150 to 200 feet from a dry ditch. You're in trouble.
If that happens in New York, wouldn't the town have to be concerned about the sewer treatment at the waste?
Well, now, that's the least of it. Everybody that lives along the body of water is gonna have to be concerned. Period. And a dry ditch. Be careful.
Level your land.
Well, it's,
And what is so ridiculous about it
Good
is,
luck with that.
there is nothing there that would make them say, we gotta do something about this, because it doesn't exist. And that's why they're all upset.
You would have a very hard time getting a nitrate out of any household.
Yeah.
Virtually impossible.
Well, as I said, the people from downstate in Pennsylvania, from what I hear, I'm not in on that politically one way or another, but what I heard is that the downstate people don't want development happening up here.
No.
Period. And so this is what's happening. This is what's going on with the DEP. So it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Stay tuned.
probably come to this side of the river too.
Yeah, stay tuned. This is a scary thing. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. I appreciate your indulging me in this.
Well, I don't have anything nearly as scary.
Oh.
Thank you.
I don't have much of a report. I just, a couple things I wanted to just touch on you. You know, probably a lot of people have gotten letters from Cornell regarding the need for funding, because the county cut them 20%. They sent me a letter too. They actually sent the supervisor of the town a letter. I checked with Ken. We can't be making donations to charities. We just can't be doing it. But that doesn't mean we couldn't make an announcement, and they are in dire need. It's a good organization, and somebody
People feel so inclined.
Yes,
to do
feels
it.
so inclined they should. Regarding the Job Corps, I spoke with Pete LaFleur yesterday.
Okay.
And a bit of good news on that front. The firm that they hire to do recruiting has been rehired.
Okay.
Recruiting meaning for their students. And he said that's a very good sign. He thinks it's a direct result of the letter writing campaign that that Mike mentioned before, and I guess there's quite a few people in the business association also wrote letters. I know we did. We passed the resolution. So he feels pretty good at it, and at this point he said maybe we should just cool it for a while and see what happens, because I think they're going to be accepting students, he thought, in July. So. And I mentioned the $5,000 in a Renaissance grant, and the litter pluck was already talked about with Tess. So that's the end of my report. Do we have any council comment? Anybody want to speak about? Okay, let's go to new business then. And the first thing on our agenda is the resolution introducing the local law number 4/2013, which is zoning law amendments. Now, for folks who, I'm sure everybody knows about it, Jerry, you've been working on this for over 3 years. It's finally, we have it. We have to set up public hearing, but I have to, somebody introduce the resolution, then we'll set the public hearing. It'll be a special, I think it should be it shouldn't be 5 minutes before a meeting.
No, we have to have it.
It should be a separate night, which we'll discuss as soon as we, so can I get a?
I'll make the motion that we do.
Okay.
I'll second it.
And John will second, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
And then the next, we talked briefly before about having it on May 9th. which is a Thursday. It's approximately 2 weeks from now, actually. 2 weeks, 1 day. And if that meets, the only thing is, I should check, in speaking with Jerry, we should check and make sure that our consultant can be there, because he can bring up the maps and, on a big chart. So, why don't we tentatively set that up, unless somebody can't make it or wanna change it?
Make it the 9th, and if something happens, we'll change it.
Yeah, what I'll do is, I'll contact him tomorrow, and we'll confirm that date. And if it can't be confirmed, boy, we'll have to come up with another one.
All right.
And I'll be on
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
7 PM, yeah.
Okay, that's all gonna be put on the town website, I assume? And there'll be a map available in the town hall for anybody to come in and look at, and the zoning will be there also.
Yeah, well, there is a map in there. I guess we could use a conference room to put it up, huh?
Yeah, I don't have the map, so I.
Well,
Lillian
there-
has-
Lillian should
Lillian
have
has
3
it.
maps, I
So
ordered,
there's-
I ordered 3
Well,
maps,
if somebody comes in.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have the old map and the new map there together. Lillian has an old map too.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is we need a resolution, audit of justice court records. Now, our audit includes justice court, but we have to
The Office
we
of
have
Court,
to have a resolution saying that, I guess, and
or
send it
the
to
Office
the,
of Court Administration,
Yeah.
saying, yes, we did do an audit of
We did it
2012.
last year,
So
as
they
I
require it every year.
I'll move.
Okay.
Second.
okay, Cindy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Uh,
And the next one's mine too.
The next one is archives, obsolete records disposition.
Which
And-
is the 2006 records, I'm ready to get rid of them. So I do this every year. Every year you have retention schedules that I go by as the records management officer. And so every 7 years we get rid of the vouchers and just different
Yeah.
files, so it's
Some things you
fine.
don't ever get rid of, do you?
No, there are some
No,
things
I have
that
a lot
are
of permanent records as well. They'll live upstairs,
Can I get a resolution? I mean,
I'll make a motion.
okay?
okay, Cindy?
Pardon?
Who's second?
Al?
Al second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a sewer charge change for the sewer system. It's a reduction. It goes from 10 to 9.5 units for the laundromat.
Make a motion that we accept that change.
You check that out, Howard? Okay.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'm sorry. The next item is permission to bid municipal trash removal. It's that time of the year already. If you recall, last year we combined it. The park removal and the summer, with our own municipal, the highway department and here, we combined it all, so.
It worked well, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a little confusing, but Ken and I will
I'll
straighten it
figure it
out.
I make a motion that we reinstate the same
Okay.
agreement.
Yeah, we may
Send
have
the
to
same
tweak
bid
it a
out.
little bit, but.
Authorize us to set the advertising. Tess and I are gonna work out exactly how we're gonna spec it. There was a
There was
confusion,
a
there was an
problem
issue, and
last year.
and we don't wanna wind up with that situation again.
Yeah,
so
no.
we're gonna-
We wound up with a situation where we had to take the highest bid.
It was the lump
Yeah.
sum.
We're gonna,
Defeats all the purpose.
yeah, we're gonna figure it out.
Okay, so permission to do that.
I make the motion.
Okay, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
And then the last thing I have for new business is setting date for cleanup, Saturday and Sunday. In the past, it's been over by the town barn. And the proposed date is the 18th and 19th of May. What's your pleasure? Cindy? It's okay with you? It's okay with me too?
Let's do it.
I'm with you, kid. Okay, second, Harold?
Yeah, sure.
All in favor? Okay.
Let's do it.
can I get a resolution to accept the abstract?
Yes.
So moved.
Second, Al? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public comment.
Gotta pay our bills.
You guys all did all that already?
Oh, I have
Are you still doing
I
that?
have one.
Got one behind you.
Okay, you're up.
I have a question first. Last year, you guys did that shredder pickup thing, remember you had like.
I was in '09 actually when we did that.
Time
My
goes by
eyes,
fast.
because I just saw it.
I
the
really
other
am
day.
65, oh my God. No, okay, so is that ever happening again?
It cost us money that we didn't have budgeted this year, so
Okay,
probably
because
not.
somebody was asking.
Town of
about it.
Calicuna's doing it, they have a lot of money over there, right, Howard? They're doing it in the fall.
Shredding.
They have two
Yeah,
cleanups over
the
there.
town is doing it. I don't.
What do they do? They shred documents for you at the town
All
level?
the town records are shredded. People can bring in their, whatever they want to shred. It's-
Suppose you gotta be from town of Calicut.
If I load my stuff in your car, you'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, and then my
That's how
only
that
other
works, you know.
comment is that, I mean, I really believe that since it took 3 years to rewrite the zoning, the public needs more than 2 weeks to review it and make comment, really.
Well, except that, that's really not fair, because we've had, what, 2 other meetings on this very same subject. Both of them have been public hearing type meetings. They haven't been official, and it was very well attended, so I don't think that's a fair statement. I mean, it's pretty, this has been around, stuff has been kicked around quite a bit.
Right, but there are all kinds of considerations, there are all kinds of health, I mean, it's a really gnarly, complex issue. And
What's gnarly and complex about it?
compressor stations are
Compressor
gnarly and
station, is that, wait a minute, like, anybody else have a compressor station?
No.
Compressor station, so that's the
I
issue.
don't have a comment about the compressor station, I do
okay.
have another, so go ahead.
But I mean, if that's that's just one part. We have people been waiting for a couple of years for these changes. You know, they want to do things. And it's really, I mean, on the other side, it's unfair.
Right, that's why when we were at the planning board committee, we asked that, that language be taken out and be considered separately so that those projects could go forward. It seems like a hangup that's not, it seems like an issue that's being created as an issue, sort of like the sequester. But I really think that a full body public hearing for people to really examine the consequences, and that's my public comment.
Can I speak to that? Should there be a lot of comment on any part of the proposed zoning changes, it doesn't mean that this can't be passed and then the issue be further looked into at another time. You know, the town board may instruct the planning board to expand their view of certain parts of it, and we would do that. But, so what I'm saying is this doesn't slam the door on any further changes down in the future.
So what I answered was, you know what it's like to walk a cat backward. It's just so much better to do it ahead than behind.
Two questions. First is, I would like to ask you the board, to reconsider the idea of having the public hearing on a Thursday night when, you know, there's a lot of people who live out of the town who have second homes and other people that are working, and, you know, that Thursday night may be inconvenient. And I'd like you to consider the idea of having a public hearing on a Saturday afternoon, so you can, you know, make it available for a greater number of people in the town. The second is a question, you just made a comment about people who've been waiting for 3 years for what? Could you describe what kind of projects are waiting?
Waiting for a zoning change because they have a project in mind,
Are there really that many projects that are waiting, 5 homes in 1 year? Could you describe in detail?
Well, these aren't building
what-
permits, these are.
What projects are in the pipeline that need, the zoning changes to be made this quickly? Why not give the public, like Liz was asking, an adequate amount of time to
We have
describe?
people that are waiting. We have a couple in Coletown that have been waiting for some time. They'd like to start a business, and they need, and this zoning change will
Affects
allow
them.
them, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's one project in
The
Coletown.
other thing is, we're doing a reassessment in the assessing office.
Yeah.
We're the ones that define what zone a house is in. We need to make all those changes and have the time to do that in the computer. So
Yeah.
we've been anxiously waiting for 3 years for that information, because in addition to all the reassessment stuff that we're doing, we have a lot of data entry to do. So
If-
that's one of the other.
If I'm not mistaken, that would relate to the changes in the river corridor, the
Yeah, all of
realignment,
those, yeah.
but not necessarily the more controversial issue of
No,
the
no.
zoning. So
The zoning issue that everybody's concerned about is the compressor station. And all the other stuff, right, I missed, at the planning board's the only
Yeah.
comments that I heard. So, I don't know why we can't expand on that.
Yeah.
I mean, to hold it up merely so that we can get bigger crowds to object, so that you can recruit people to come in, to me, doesn't sound, I mean, this has been 3.5 years these folks have been working on this.
Right.
It's not really fair.
So change it from a Thursday to a Saturday.
Well, interesting, the town of Bethel just changed their regular meeting night to a Thursday to accommodate the weekenders. I mean, I don't know, I mean,
Nice weather now, they can come earlier.
So I guess the remaining question is, how come they weren't bifurcated? I mean, why even though we asked when it was voted, because obviously there's.
When what was voted?
The zoning changes, the recommendations for the board.
That's all they are now, they're recommendations, and they're gonna come to the
Right, I
board,
was at the
and we're gonna
meeting,
hear
yeah.
a public hearing for the,
Right,
to
I
consider.
know, I was at the meeting, and what we requested multiple times was that the changes be bifurcated. So rather than lumping the compressor station language in with all these other non-controversial, really ought to be moved forward things for the benefit of all of us, for economics and for everything. But take that one very controversial, very complex issue that requires a lot of education, not objection, but education. The language was being changed the last night when it was voted on, because there was still confusion even amongst the planning board, some of the planning board members, about what was intended and what the language covered, et cetera, et cetera. So how are residents who are concerned or who have questions, period, to find answers in 2 weeks, when the board after 3 years still had questions of which it didn't have answers? And had to work it out that night.
You had your hand, sorry, Liam.
Yes, Liam Murphy, Canosa Lake. I understand you got a letter from Buck Moorhead urging the town board to send the amendments back to the planning board.
Liam, we didn't read that though, because we're gonna save that for the.
We were saving it for the public hearing.
Yeah, so I'm speaking now before the public hearing, because I think that it would help the public hearing a lot if 2 things were done before then. First, there's some incompleteness and sloppy drafting in the amendments. There's no and I'm particularly focused on the gas compressor station and the changes to the noise standards. So in the noise standards at section 6055, there's no specification of which frequency weighting, that's dBA or dPC, is required for the new noise standards. There's no definition of ambient noises, rules for how it should be measured, nor is there a default ambient noise level specified. But more important, I think, if you read the amendments, the noise and the gas compressor station, you're left wondering what could the rationale for these changes possibly be. And I think the public, before the meeting, would really benefit from some answers to some really basic questions that I have when I read the amendments. So these are my questions. 1, did the board consider the cost-benefit analysis? Do the costs of permitting a gas compressor station in the neighbourhood of the hamlet of Callicoon outweigh the benefits? Presumably there'd be some tax benefits to having a gas compressor station, but there'd also be clear costs, perhaps driving away businesses, second homeowners, other homeowners from the area, with obvious negative effects on tax revenues. So could we have some statement of view of the board on the cost-benefit analysis? Now, it's sometimes said that gas compressor stations could be imposed on us by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, or the New York State Public Service Commission, that's PSC, whether we like it or not, so we best protect ourselves by zoning in compressor stations and then providing restrictive environmental regulation for them. But I wonder if the board considered the obvious alternative, which is improving our environmental regulation without zoning in compressor stations. And third, and this is really the matter that's most perplexing to me, the proposed amendments dramatically weaken existing local noise regulation. And I'm wondering if the board knows this, and if they do know it.
It's totally untrue. They strengthen.
Yeah, we went
Noise regulations.
We disagree with that.
You want to argue about the facts. The scale has changed. You're using, I'm assuming it's 60 dBA. You say the maximum under the new 6055 is 60 dBA. Well, you say it's decibels. I'm assuming it's dBA. The section doesn't specify. Existing regulation is not weighted for frequency changes, and it's just a straight decibel reading. And the straight decibel reading correlates with dBA at 1,000 hertz, and they're the same at that level frequency. Existing law 42 decibels, new law 60 decibels. If I'm making a mistake, I'd appreciate an explanation now, because my reading of the thing, this looks like the proposed changes allow noise level 4 times as loud as the existing maximum, because every 10 decibels is a doubling of sound level.
We'll give you the explanation of the public hearing.
Well, it would be very helpful if this explanation were given to the
That's
public
exactly
before
what I
then.
said. I thought it was greatly reduced.
It greatly does reduce.
Yeah.
Well, can you explain to me how that could be when at 1,000 hertz, the scale you're using is identical to the old scale, and under the old scale, at 1,000 hertz was 42 decibels, and the new regulation is 60.
I don't have anything here in front of me to reference to, so, I mean, it's just totally inappropriate to even try to respond to it here.
Well, I think it's totally
That's why we had a
appropriate
public
too.
hearing, you know.
Yeah, but for people to be prepared for the public hearing, if I'm mistaken, and I've been doing a bit of research on this, and I find it very surprising if I were, but if I am mistaken, then I might have other things to say. That's
You'll
one
have 2 more
reason.
weeks to research it.
I want to know why you think I'm wrong.
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said it's.
You said I was wrong.
Well, I don't think you're right either, but that's based on what we talked about several times, several public meetings and hearings regarding the same subject, and that's not the way I understood it.
Okay.
Is that fair,
Let me leave
Jerry?
local laws.
So what I'm saying is, though, but this is really appropriate for the public hearing.
Yeah, I know, but I want to put this on the table beforehand, because I think that the public should be aware that these issues are in the air. And even if I'm wrong about the local law, which I'm pretty certain I'm not, the proposed amendments are weaker than those applied by both FERC and PSC. And that is clearly true. FERC has a standard which is converts to about 49 decibels. PSC has regularly accepted a 40 decibel level. Why are we doing 60 decibels? It's the same scale, dBA, in both cases. I'm wondering what would be the point of introducing noise regulations that are less stringent than are currently accepted by FERC and PSC in decisions precisely on compressors.
It seems to me that would be nebulous, because FERC is going to override what the local ones are, especially if the local ones don't meet their standards. So that's it.
So why introduce weaker standards just to have them?
Well, we don't know that they're weak. According, you say they're not, but we have to look into that.
48.2,
Well, we'll look
60
into it.
versus 40.
We'll look into it, and that's why,
That's
that's
all
really
I'm
one of
here
the
for.
purposes for a public hearing.
Well, but I think it would
To
be nice
focus
if there
on
was
those
some
issues.
clarity on this issue by the time of the public hearing, so that the public at the hearing could know that we're all on the same page as far as the facts are concerned. And there's a better way to do things. I wonder whether the planning board considered the comprehensive noise ordinance that the town of Windsor in Broome County adopted. And I would point out that when the PSC approved a compressor station in the town of Windsor, they deferred to that local town noise ordinance, and that has a very restrictive set of standards, including a maximum of no more than 3 dBA above ambient during nighttime hours, which is the most restrictive I've seen, and the PSC deferred to it. Finally, I know a lot of people are concerned about low frequency noise. There's no provision for low frequency noise. The dBA scale cannot address low frequency noise. So I know you think this should all be said at the public hearing, but I think if I get up at the public hearing and say this, you say that's all wrong, I can't tell you why it's wrong, that's not going to be very helpful. It'd be nice to know in advance why you think I'm wrong. Bottom line, it seems to me this is a weakening of noise standards, and it's a proposal for weaker noise standards than either regulatory agency that's relevant accepts. Thanks for hearing me.
Liam, were you referring, you have your own letter, or this is a letter from Buck?
The Buck sent a letter, and I also sent in what I've just said with some information backing up my claims about the noise.
Well, why don't you give us a copy of that, and we'll respond?
I sent it to Tess late today, so.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we can respond, we try to respond to that, and hopefully even before.
I'd appreciate that.
Is there going to be any advertising of the zoning amendments? So you
Sure,
can-
it has to be, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, okay, good. They're the same newspapers?
We can't
and-
advertise it until we set it, and we can't even set it for sure. This is a tentative date. We'll be able to set it hopefully tomorrow.
Are you planning on having it here?
Yeah.
Here next door.
In this room?
Okay.
Yeah.
You really think it should be in the other room?
I don't know, I mean, I'm gonna need some room to be able to have a projector and a table
Well, I can do it
and
in the
things. I really think
you
you're
know,
gonna have, from what I'm hearing here tonight, is that you're gonna have quite a crowd, so you might as well have it someplace.
Seems like
where you
every
can
time
have
we go over there isn't a crowd. You know, we can do
it.
it.
It's your decision.
Thursday night's your fireman's night.
It's, I believe that's their drill night Thursday
Yeah,
night.
so that isn't gonna work.
Mondays and Thursdays.
You know, again, every time we've done that, it was not necessary. You know, what we can do is we can plan a public hearing, and if it looks like it's, you know, we have overwhelming response to it, we can always do another one and have it at another venue, you know. I think that probably makes more sense.
Well, it'd certainly give opportunity for follow-up.
I'm surprised, I was thinking that if we had changed the, never mind, I shouldn't say this.
Is it difficult?
I was gonna say if we made the, if we put an ordinance in there for milkshake compressor stations, whether it would have the same, I think the fact that it says gas is the problem.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
You're not dairy.
No wonder there's no dairy farms left.
Liam, because Zeke wants to say something.
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, I think what we're up against here is an industry that is moving faster than we can keep up with. You know, and that's what a lot of people are concerned about. There's, just now, every day, there's more and more accidents happening now with compressor stations. In fact, there was an article recently in the Scranton papers about the state of Pennsylvania upping the ante on the stringent regulations. They think they're talking about methane leakage, which is like really a huge problem with compressor stations. There's so much methane leakage that, you know, this is harming people that are working on the rigs. And, you know, I guess I just have to ask, you know, why would we even think about doing something like that in the business district of Calhoun?
It's not in the business district of Calhoun. I mean, we're not,
Well, I
that's
thought
why I
it was,
said, you know
I
what
thought
this
it was,
is, that's why
amended.
you can get the maps and get all the straight information at the public hearing. That's not true.
The Calhoun
If you
Business
can get
District
in.
goes way up beyond the village, the hamlet, goes up into the hinterlands, okay? So that's why it's in there.
It's worded the business and rural district.
Right.
But it has to be, did you read the rest of it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, I
did it say, I think it says something like 1,000 feet from a residence?
Yeah, but it also calls natural gas a renewable energy, and it's not. That's under the heading in the whole thing of the amendments, renewable energy. You know, so I mean, well, I mean, it's misleading, so that's why people are misled about being in the business district.
Okay. Well, I prefer to answer this stuff at the public hearing. I just don't,
Yeah, and I mean,
I think what you're
that's-
having here is a
Yeah.
miniature public hearing.
By the way, we've had about 19 of these. Hey, you know, we're gonna have one, you know, we'll see, everybody, I promise everybody will get an opportunity to speak.
This is a question about the venue. I really appreciate you saying that everyone has an opportunity to speak. And I think if you stand by that, then you would have to offer it in a larger space. And is it difficult to
Or
have
more
it in a
than-
larger
or
space?
more
Well, we
than
can have
one
another meeting.
public
You know, I just only hesitated because, first of all, it's an expense. Second of all, it's never been necessary. It's always been, we worried about it, and we have it over there, and we get a few people in the front, and, you know, it's not, nothing at this place couldn't hold. But if it does, we'll have another one. It
Okay,
really,
but
you know,
Ed,
I think that's
disagree with you.
fair.
I do disagree with you that it's never been a problem, because I think that you don't see the people that don't come in. But I had people come up to me, and I know I mentioned it to you after a meeting, and said they
One
weren't able to
meeting
come in.
that I recall, but all the other meetings,
Well,
we
I
were
think
fine.
that one meeting is too many, that people can't voice their opinions.
What-
And if it's possible, I mean,
Well,
if it's difficult
Has
to go to
anybody's
another
opinion
venue, I
not been voiced?
understand. But if it's possible to go to another venue, I think you owe that to the people of this town.
Well, yeah, and I say that everybody will get a chance to speak, but
Right.
we'll make the decision tomorrow. I haven't, you know, have to think about it. That particular night, you know, it was a monkey wrench, right, because that particular night, we can't do it. The firemen are using it that night, so
So it
I
might
have
be
to
on
change it.
two Thursday nights then?
Well, they have it every Thursday.
No, I mean, for the public hearing, have two public hearings on subsequent,
Well, we could. If we're gonna do that, then why have a bigger venue?
Well, that's what he's saying.
yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, I've already said that.
You're liable to get the same crowd at both meetings.
Yeah, probably will, but,
Well, I think it's important for
Have one
people
on a
to hear
Thursday
what
and one
everyone
on a
has to
Saturday
say.
for the people who live out of the area.
Yeah. One on Thursday and one on Saturday. That's a good
Okay.
compromise.
we'll set a meeting on, you know, because it's not, there's more than one variable. We make sure the consultant make it.
How would 2 meetings work? I mean, if people showed up for one meeting and they couldn't get in, would they be then expected to come for the next meeting?
Well, if it got so bad, I would probably change the venue and to a larger place, you know.
How would you know except
That
on
didn't
that
happen
night?
last time.
We'd know it that night. And then the
Yeah,
second
but-
one, we'd have a larger venue.
So you cancel that meeting?
No, we'd have two of them. Nothing says we can't have two public hearings. We got
If
three
people would
public
show
hearings.
up and then not be able to get in and then have to come to the other.
But wouldn't it be an advantage for people at the meeting to hear
Yeah,
what
actually,
everyone
what you
else
do is
in
you
the town
recess
has
it.
to say?
You recess the one meeting
And
and.
some people be not allowed into a hearing, and they would miss what some of their neighbors would have to say about the issue because they can't come into the meeting because it's too full. Wouldn't it be better if it's not a hardship for the town just to have it in a larger venue? So we could all hear what our neighbors have to say, and they weigh in on the subject?
Well,
Because that's what democracy is,
Yeah, I will
right?
try to, you know, again, it is a little bit of a monkey wrench, because I have to find another day now. You know, I had to spend some time going around with the members, and can they make this day, can they make, we settled on that Thursday here, and now it can't be a Thursday, can't be any Thursday. So, and it can't be almost any Wednesday, because zoning board of appeals, planning board, and our town board. So, you know, it starts to limit it a little bit, so.
Mondays are court.
Monday's court,
Well-
so we'll figure it out, you
Sounds
know.
like
If it's
Tuesday.
another venue, I'll have to talk to the firemen, see what is available, okay? We'll figure it out.
You did mention asking Jerry about having it on the 8th, the Wednesday night, and by the way, ZBA meets on Thursdays, not Wednesdays.
The 8th would be a planning board meeting.
Right, I mean, before you arrived, they were talking about whether or not it would be good to have it.
Well, yeah, but then he'd have to be in a position to cancel that meeting tonight, right? Unless you had that, unless you had your
We don't
business
have anything
scenario.
on the agenda, but, you know, things come up, you know, we have a monthly meeting date of the second Wednesday, and if something comes up.
What they were talking about.
Yeah, if something comes up, we try to accommodate anybody who wants to come before the planning board. I mean, we ask for 10 days' notice, but we've always tried to work with anybody who came forward.
We'll figure it out, and we'll get a date out, and we'll announce it, and there'll be plenty of time for advertising and what else we got. Does that preclude comment? Okay, get a motion for adjournment?
Second. Did we do what? The audit?
Yeah, we did that.
I'll make the motion. I made the motion and,
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm the one.